All right, good morning. Hello, students. We are going to try out this pre-recorded class session rather than doing our live session together today. I know that's what you guys do for reading class. So let's see how it goes for science. During this video, there will be several moments where I'm going to ask you to pause and go and respond to a question that I'm going to ask you. So in your Google Classroom, where you found this science video, there's also a link under today's lesson that says During Class. It's a Google form titled During Class on Tuesday, 03/31, today's date. So make sure that you have access to that. Make sure you find it before you start this video. I would go ahead and just open it up. Keep it in a separate tab on the internet if you can. And that way, when I ask you to pause and go and answer a question, there are a total of 8, almost 9. There's one question at the end. 9 questions on the Google form that I'll be asking you to respond to during this lesson. So be ready to pause the video and go over to the Google form. If you're not sure where the Google form is or you can't find it, shoot me a message, send me an email, or make a comment on the Google Classroom and I can walk you through it, okay? Alrighty, so today's objective is I can describe the process of the water cycle. Let's get started. So a single drop of water can change states of matter, travel into the sky and underground, travel through rivers, stay in the ocean, and go inside of plants, right? So this whole week we're talking about the hydrosphere, which is all the water on the earth. And yesterday we were discussing different sources of water, so fresh water and salt water on planet Earth. And we know that most of the water on Earth is salt water in the oceans, 97% of the hydrosphere, and 3% of the water on Earth is fresh water. Right? So that's all the water in the lakes and rivers and in the clouds and in icebergs and things. So today we're going to talk about how that water in all of those different places in the oceans, lakes, and rivers travels from one location to another. Because you guys already know that water's constantly changing, right? Water is one of the only substances on our planet that can easily change from solid to liquid to gas and back again, right? It has the ability to go from one state to the other in a relatively small amount, with a relatively small amount of energy or temperature, right? So my first question for you before we start talking about how water can change, I want you to remind yourself and remind me, tell me, what is a water molecule made of? What is a water molecule made of? So now is the time to pause the video. This is question number 1 on your Google form. Pause the video and go to the Google form titled During Class and answer question number 1. What is a water molecule made of? Okay. All right, so you should have paused the video to go and answer that question. Now we're back, and a water molecule, as you guys already know, is made up of 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. 2 atoms of hydrogen, H2, and 1 atom of oxygen, and that's the O, right? So H2O. So the water cycle is all about how H2O, water, can change from one state to another. Okay. Move my face over here. Alrighty, so our first word, and I hope that you are taking notes. This is all these words that are in blue or in bold, you should be writing down because those are going to be on our DOL. Okay, awesome. So first stage of the water cycle is evaporation. Evaporation occurs when heat from the sun causes liquid water, so liquid water in a lake or a river or even in the ocean, to become water vapor. So now is the time to pause the video again and go to the Google form during class and answer question number 2. Question number 2. Evaporation is caused by heat from the what? Heat from the what? So pause the video, go to the Google form. And hopefully you wrote the answer. Evaporation is caused by heat from the sun. The sun. So we know that you can change liquid water into water vapor or steam, right? Or gas form of water. You can turn liquid water into liquid or into water vapor just by heating it up, right? You could put a pot of water on your stove and you could boil that water and it would evaporate into a gas. However, the most common way that water turns into a gas is not from man-made heat. It's not from the heat from your oven or heat from a fire. It's most commonly water is heated from the sun, right? Imagine how much the sun is touching all of the water in on our planet, right? Half the water on Earth is getting touched by the sun all at the same time. So it's happening very slowly, but evaporation causes that very top surface layer of the water pretty much constantly throughout the day to be gradually turning into gas. And then the next little surface layer of water gradually turns into gas. So this is a constant process. Okay, so evaporation caused by heat from the sun. Good. Okay, now's the time to pause the video again and go answer question number 3 in the Google form, the during class Google form. Go to question number 3 and answer for me, what is a synonym for water vapor? What is a word that means the same as water vapor? Ready, go. All right, and we're back, and hopefully you wrote that a synonym for water vapor could be steam or fog are both good synonyms for water vapor. Or you could say water as a gas, right? Gas and vapor are the same thing. Awesome. I always think of steam when I think water vapor. Okay. The next stage of the water cycle is condensation, and you guys are familiar with a lot of these words that we talked about when we were learning about states of matter. So they shouldn't be brand new, but we'll just review them today. So condensation occurs when water vapor gets cooler and changes back to liquid water. So the reason there's clouds there, and you guys might remember from our science class, is that condensation forms clouds. Condensation forms clouds. Say it with me. Ready? Condensation forms clouds. That's right. So condensation is when all that water vapor that just got evaporated by the sun is now rising in the atmosphere and starting to cool off. The higher that you get in the atmosphere, the colder that it gets. Right? If you're way up on the top of a mountain, higher up in elevation, it's usually a lot colder up there than down below because the atmosphere is getting thinner, and so it's getting colder. So as that water vapor starts to rise, that gas starts to rise, it cools off and it's slowly starting to turn back into liquid. Okay, and those water droplets, as it's turning back into liquid, are what we see as clouds in the air. Right, so condensation forms clouds. Okay, so pause the video, go to question number 4 on your Google form. Question number 4, what happens to water vapor during condensation? What happens to the water vapor gas form during condensation? It changes into what? Go to your Google form, ready, go. Sweet. I never know how long to pause because I don't want to just give you the answer too quick, but since you've paused the video, I'm assuming you've had as much time as you need. Normally during class, I would wait, 30 seconds or so for you to get your answers written down. But since you're just pausing your video, I'm just going to keep on rolling. And even though that feels a little awkward for me, I'm kind of assuming that you have paused the video for as long as it takes for you to write your response. So forgive me if it feels like I'm moving too fast. Give me feedback and let me know if I need to pause for longer or if I need to stop pausing for so long or what. Okay? All right, awesome. So you should have written down for question number 4, water vapor during condensation, water vapor turns back to liquid, changes back into liquid. Awesome. Okay, so then the next stage, after that water vapor turns back into liquid, the next stage is it's going to get heavy enough to fall from the sky, right? It's going to come back down. So you guys already know that that is called precipitation. Say it with me, precipitation. How many syllables? 5 syllables. Precipitation. 5-syllable word. It's a big one. It's a good one. Precipitation occurs when water falls from clouds. Simple. There are 4 main types, right? The most common one is rain. And then we also have sleet, snow, and hail. Remember, water is water whether it's a solid or liquid or gas. Right? So the hydrosphere is anything that's made of a water molecule, anything that's mostly H2O. Okay, so even when it's in solid form, like solid ice, like hail, or solid water, like snow, even if it's in solid form, it's still part of the hydrosphere. Okay, it's still water. So that's precipitation. Snow, sleet, rain, and hail. Go to your Google form. During class, Google form, go to question number 5. Question 5. What are 2 types of precipitation? Name for me 2 types. 2 out of the 4 types. Write them down in the Google form. Pause the video. Okay, are we ready? Fantastic. So you could have written any of the 2, snow, sleet, hail, or rain. Any 2 out of those 4. Good job. Okay, so after precipitation happens, then what comes next in this water cycle? What comes next in the journey of a raindrop? Oh, well, dang, sorry, this is slightly out of order. That's annoying. This slide should have come a little earlier, but we'll talk about it right now. So, sorry, that's embarrassing. But here we go. Transpiration happens when water vapor is released from the leaves of plants. So really this should have come during the evaporation stage, right? Evaporation is water vapor coming off of the top of a surface of the water and turning into water vapor. And transpiration is a similar effect where water vapor is going up into the atmosphere, but instead of coming from the surface of the water, the surface of a lake or the surface of a river or the surface of the ocean, instead of coming from a water surface, this water vapor is coming from inside of plants. So we've talked a little bit in science class about how all living things have to breathe, right? All living things respirate. They take in gases and they release gases, just like we do, right? When I'm exhaling into the air, I am releasing some water vapor and some steam into the air, and also some carbon dioxide. So trees and plants are doing the same thing. When they are exchanging gases in the air, when they're releasing oxygen out into the air, they're also releasing some water vapor, right? Releasing some of their extra stored up water as gas. It's almost like they're exhaling just like we are, just breathing. So this is called transpiration. Transpiration. And again, one of the important things about the water cycle, and when we talk about, how the hydrosphere is constantly changing, one of the important things is that all of this is happening at once. I think I mentioned that yesterday, that it's not like it rains one day and then the next day water evaporates and then the next day water condensates into clouds. Nope, all of these stages are all happening all at the same time, just in different parts of the world, okay? And sometimes in even the same part of the world, like in Colorado Springs, all of these things are all happening at the same time, right? So it's a cycle, but it doesn't necessarily go in order. It's all kind of simultaneous, okay? Awesome. Okay, so go to your Google form. We're on question number 6 right now. You guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. Go ahead and pause the video and go to question number 6 and answer for me. Transpiration happens when water vapor is released from what? Transpiration happens or occurs when water vapor is released from what? From plants. Good job. Awesome. Okay, moving on. Ooh, this one will not be on your DOL, but we might as well chat about it really quick. Runoff occurs when excess rainwater flows to a water source. So when there is too much water, or when it rains so fast that it can't all absorb into the ground, sometimes the water goes running down the street. You guys have probably seen that, or rushing down a hill, or running down the gully of a mountain. So runoff is just when that excess precipitation starts flowing somewhere. And it usually doesn't last long. It usually happens while it's raining, or, right after the snow starts melting, but it doesn't last forever like a river, right? It's kind of a temporary river. Okay. All right, we're on to our last 2 questions and our last 2 vocabulary words that we need to know before DOL. This one is percolation. Percolation. Another word for percolation is absorption. So when something, oops, there goes my timer. My timer is telling me to rest my eyeballs. I've been getting headaches because doing this online learning means that I'm staring at the screen for most of the day. So I've been getting headaches, so I set my timer to remind myself every 20 minutes to just shut my eyes and look away from the screen and try to rest and relax my eyeballs. So, but I won't take time out of class to do that. Although it's a good reminder for everybody to, make sure you're taking care of your eyes. They have muscles in them, right? Tiny little muscles. So, okay, sorry for that tangent. Here we go. We're talking about percolation or absorption, which is when precipitation, so some kind of rain or sleet or snow or hail, gets soaked in or sucked into the ground. It goes underground, through the soil, through the dirt, right? So this is one way that the hydrosphere and the geosphere are interacting. Rain from the sky either soaks in right then and there when it hits the ground, or it runs off to another location, right? Sometimes it runs down the street, like we just talked about with runoff. It'll run down the street and then it'll soak into the ground wherever it ends up. So this is really important for our ecosystem, right? For trees and plants that have their roots deep down in the soil, they rely on that rainwater being able to soak in, being able to be absorbed. So percolation can also be called absorption, right? It's just that water sinking in to the ground. Okay, so go ahead, pause the video, pause. You're on question number 7. Question 7, percolation or absorption means that water soaks into the what? Ready, go. Sweet, you're back. It means the water soaks into the ground, or you could have said soil or dirt. Soaks into the ground. Awesome, great job. Last word of the day, last vocab word about the water cycle is accumulation. So accumulation, another way to say accumulation is also collection, right? Accumulation is just when all of that water ends up in one place together. It collects together, right? It's not social distancing. Instead, it's gathering in one place, like we're not allowed to do right now. So accumulation occurs when precipitation is stored in a lake, a river, or an ocean, right? So maybe that sounds a little weird, the word stored, but it's basically this water is in the ocean or in the lake just for the time being, right? That little water molecule might someday get evaporated again, or maybe soaked into the ground, absorbed or percolated through the ground. But for now, that water molecule is in the middle of a lake or in the middle of a river or an ocean. So we call that accumulation or collection, right? Accumulation or collection, where water is all stored in one place. Okay, either lake, river, ocean, could also be a pond or a glacier or an iceberg, or a stream or creek or waterfall, right? Some kind of body of water is where that water gets stored. Okay. All right. So we're on to our, one of our last questions on our Google form. You're on question number 8. Now it's time to pause the video, pause the video, and go to question 8. Accumulation happens when water is collected or stored in boom, you got it. A lake, a river, or an ocean. Stored in a body of water. Okay? Fantastic. Awesome. I'm so proud of you for making it through this section of the lesson. I have just a few more slides to talk through or to go through, and then I'm going to set you loose to watch the last YouTube video. So there's one more YouTube video to watch, and then it's time for DOL. Okay? So here we go. Let's just go through these last few slides about the water cycle. So a water molecule in its lifetime is going to go through all of these different stages in the water cycle. Let's look at some different things that drops of water can do. So precipitation, here's, like I said earlier, remember that this is all happening kind of at the same time, right? It's not one thing then the next thing, then the next thing, like we're used to in a cycle, right? This is all kind of simultaneous. So precipitation's happening over here. Two things can happen to precipitation. It might fall into a body of water, so rain could fall onto the ocean, or it might fall onto the Earth's surface, right? So rain could fall into your backyard, for example. Water might be consumed by humans and animals. Water might be frozen and stored in a glacier or a river of ice. Water might percolate underground through the soil or get, absorbed and soaked through the soil. And then you have runoff. That looks more like a river to me, but you could also call it runoff, as that precipitation is collecting and going down the hill somewhere to a big body of water. On the ground, water might become runoff and flow to a river, ocean, or lake. So you guys have probably seen runoff in your neighborhood. Then we have transpiration, when the water is coming from trees or leaves or bushes or any kind of plant can let water vapor off into the air. Water enters plants through their roots, and plants use water during photosynthesis. The water is then released from a plant during transpiration. Bum-ba-da-bum. Should be all bringing back memories of stuff we've learned before. And now there's evaporation, which is the sun. Remember heat from the sun, changing that water into water vapor. Oops. Water returns to the Earth's atmosphere during evaporation. Water evaporates or becomes water vapor, right? Evaporates. Water vapor evaporates due to heat from the sun. And then you have condensation, which is that water vapor turning back into liquid water, right? So during condensation, water vapor cools and becoming liquid water. Sweet. And then the cycle starts all over again. As it becomes liquid water, turns back into precipitation. Water falls to the earth as precipitation, and the cycle begins again. Okay. So there we go. There we have it, my friends. That is the water cycle. There is one more question on your during class Google form. one more question on that Google form. It's number 9, and that question is basically just to prepare for DOL. Okay, so take a couple minutes to just describe the process of the water cycle. Imagine that you are telling me step by step what happens in the water cycle. Okay, that is your job before DOL. Answer question number 9. Then you have one more YouTube video to watch, and then it's DOL time. I will be in the Google video Meet, in our video chat. I'll be in our classroom for the remainder of class. If you have any questions, then you can pop in and ask me, and I will get back to you. All right, I will talk to you later. Thank you. Bye.